My name is Jason, and I want to share a wild situation that turned my life upside down not too long ago. I'm 35 years old and have been married to my wife, Alyssa, for 15 years. She's 37, and we have a son. Alyssa used to work as a cashier at a gas station, which was especially tough during the summer months when the highway was packed with travelers. She would often come home completely exhausted, too tired for any intimacy. She would say she just wanted to get some sleep. Alyssa is a stunning woman. Even at 37, she looks incredible with a tiny waist and a figure that turns heads. Maybe that's why, even after all these years, I'm still deeply attracted to her. I'll admit, sometimes I get a little jealous, even though we've been together for so long. For the most part, we lived a peaceful life until her boss at the gas station switched her to a rotating schedule. That's when things started to feel different. First, she changed her hairstyle and even dyed her hair blonde. I didn't mind. In fact, I thought the new shade suited her. Then, a couple months later, she suddenly became obsessed with fitness and swimming, spending most of her free time at the gym or pool. It was great for her figure, and I tried to be supportive, but something about it made me uneasy. One day, while tidying up the house, I found a bright red set of lacy underwear with some pretty revealing cutouts. That's when my doubts really kicked in. She had never worn anything like that for me before. That evening, I asked her directly, "Hey, what's with this sexy lingerie? Who's it for?" She lowered her eyes and mumbled that she had bought it as a surprise for me. I wasn't sure if I believed her, but that night, I asked her to put on immediately. To my surprise, she didn't hesitate or try to avoid it like she usually did. In fact, she seemed eager for me to insist. That was just the beginning of the strange changes in our marriage. We ended up spending most of the night fooling around. Thankfully, our son was off visiting his grandparents. Yet, despite all the intimacy, something didn't feel entirely right to me. I know some guys would say I was being ridiculous. My wife was suddenly all about pleasing me in bed, jumping at any chance for intimacy. She looked amazing in new outfits and kept buying more and more lingerie. She started using fancy lotions, doing up her makeup, and putting in extra effort. But deep down, I was convinced there had to be another reason for these drastic changes. Whenever I asked her about it, why she was dressing differently or why she was so eager for intimacy, she insisted it was all for me. She said she wanted to reignite our marriage, but it still felt suspicious. I started checking her phone messages secretly, going through her social media and emails. Everything was squeaky clean. I even requested a log of her calls and texts. Still nothing. That's when I turned to a coworker of mine who's a bit of a tech expert. I didn't outright say, "Hey, I think my wife's cheating. Help me spy on her." Instead, I just asked if he had any software that could help track certain digital footprints. He loaded a sneaky app onto a flash drive, explained how to bypass antivirus programs, and gave me tips on installing it. All day at work, I was a ball of nerves, playing out different scenarios in my head. Of course, that's exactly when my boss dumped a ton of extra tasks on me, so I didn't get home until really late. I didn't get a chance to set anything up that night either, though Alyssa and I ended up in bed again for another intense night. The next morning, my suspicions grew stronger when she left for work wearing a top with an unusually low neckline. She had never worn anything that revealing before, not even when we were dating. I couldn't help but ask why she was dressed like that. She gave me some vague response about how it made her feel more confident. My nerves were on edge, and I demanded that she change into something else. But instead of getting annoyed, she seemed even more turned on. She dragged me back to the bedroom for another round. It was bizarre. She had never been this bold before. That evening, I rushed home, determined to install the app from my flash drive onto her computer. I followed my co-worker's instructions carefully, but found nothing. No hidden accounts, no suspicious chats. I lay awake all night staring at the ceiling, realizing she might be using a second phone or some other method of hiding things. The next day, I tore our whole apartment apart, searching for a burner phone or any kind of clue. I didn't find a thing. The only unusual discovery was a bunch of books on intimate relationships in her drawer, books about exploring new fantasies. At that point, I was so confused that I sank into a bit of depression. A close friend noticed something was wrong and asked me about it. I had been feeling uneasy for a while, and when my friend noticed, he asked me what was bothering me. I explained my situation, half expecting him to laugh. In a way, he did, saying he would be thrilled if his wife suddenly became so passionate. But when he saw I wasn't joking, he apologized and gave me a simple suggestion. Why don't you just come home early one day and see what's going on? It was like a light bulb went on in my head. Why hadn't I thought of that before? The next day, I told my boss I wasn't feeling well, and he let me leave early. I rushed home, my heart pounding. As soon as I opened the front door, I heard sultry music coming from our bedroom. I was so shocked that I didn't even take off my shoes. Slowly, I crept over and opened the door. There she was, Alyssa, completely naked on the bed, moving to the music and filming herself on a webcam. In one hand, she held let's just call it a toy, something I had never seen before, not even during my occasional snooping. I couldn't watch another second. I clapped my hands loudly and shouted, "Bravo!" She gasped and nearly fell off the bed in shock. Scrambling to turn off the camera, she burst into tears. Through sobs, she confessed that she had been doing explicit live streams for about 3 months. Some viewers even sent her money, but she swore it wasn't about the cash. "It helps me loosen up, feel confident, and express myself," she said. She admitted that sometimes the things men said in her streams made her want to try them in real life, but always with me, never with anyone else. Honestly, I felt sick, humiliated, betrayed. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my arm and insisted that she loved only me. I would never physically cheat, she pleaded. I tried to pull away. Why do you need random men watching you to feel sexy? Couldn't you dance me instead? Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "It's not the same. Doing it for you doesn't give me the same adrenaline rush as performing for strangers." Her words froze me. I didn't know what to say. I told her I needed air and stepped onto the balcony, lighting a cigarette, my mind racing. On one hand, she hadn't physically been with another man. On the other, it felt like a betrayal, like I wasn't enough for her. The whole thing made me feel worthless. Eventually, she promised to quit entirely if that's what it took to save our marriage. We spent a few weeks apart, but surprisingly, I found myself missing her. Crazy as it sounds, I went back. Now, we watch more adult films together and even try out our own little experiments. Sometimes, I still get a knot in my stomach thinking about what I walked on, but I guess this is the messed up path we took to fix our marriage. I'm still not sure if this is a happy ending, but at least we're facing it together.